The predator becomes the prey. Here's your look at the new NECA toys, the Predator. This is Lab Escape Fugitive Predator. Predators have been genetically evolving themselves to be stronger, smarter, and more lethal than ever before. When a young boy accidentally activates a mysterious alien device and becomes the target of these enhanced predators, only his father and the most unlikely ragtag band of crazy ex-military agents can save him and the human race from obliteration. Okay, let's go ahead and get this review underway. The first thing we're going to do is measure off to the very top of Lab Escape Fugitive Predator. It's a fairly tall figure, a little bit taller than your standard NECA figures. And just how tall exactly is that? Well, according to the Ultrameasure 5000, the readout at least tells us that the figure stands 8.6 inches in height. Not too bad at all. Switching that over to centimeters, you're looking at almost 22 centimeters. The Lab Escape Predator actually stands 21.9 centimeters in height. As I'm sure you guys will want to see some size comparisons, we'll compare the Lab Escape Fugitive Predator with the other Predator that happens to appear in the film. And this is the very towering armored assassin. So towering, in fact, I can't actually see all of it in frame, so I just have to move the camera up slightly. It's almost, I would say, another third the Predator higher. Yes, I'm actually just using a display stand to stand the armored assassin because he just has a bit of a tough time standing. But you can see there's a considerable height difference between the two figures. Not a wonder that poor Fugitive Predator was so overwhelmed so quickly when he went toe-to-toe with the armored assassin. For the figure's accessories, some of the things you normally would expect to find, we'll cover off on those first, then we'll kind of get into the really interesting stuff. There's a lot of cool things to have a look at here. The first thing we'll have a look at is a standard issued grade Predator Shuriken. Introduced, I think, in around AVP, the Shurikens have kind of made appearances since then, and many of the Predator figures that have come included with the NECA figure releases have come with a Shuriken one time or another. It has been done in what looks to be not a silver plastic. It actually looks like it's been painted. Perhaps it was cast in silver plastic, but either way, it does look quite good, this mechanized spider-like weapon. It is brittle, something to, of course, mention. I'm sure you guys already know that by now looking at it. These little edged blades that stick out from the center section of the Shuriken are extremely brittle. In fact, sadly, I have to report that a couple of my Shurikens that I loosely just threw in a bag with some of my Predator figures have broken. No surprise there. Like I said, they are brittle, and you put any bit of weight on it or crunch them, yeah, those things are going to break pretty quickly. Again, nice little detailed piece, something of which you could display with the figure, but there's like a whole lot of other cool stuff coming with this figure. I probably may not resort to displaying him with the Shuriken. Either way, he comes with that. The other thing he comes included with, not quite alien tech, but instead military Earth tech. He does come with the SG-552, the SIG SG-552. And it's all done in black plastic. There's no additional paint or anything that's added to it. A standard military issued grade firearm. In fact, you see it in the lab. Many of the soldiers are wielding and holding the SG-552s, and again, you get that included with the figure. Done, again, solely just in black plastic, no paint whatsoever on it. But to be fair, the SIGs in the movie actually are just all black anyways, so you get that also included. Let's talk about his hands. He does have a pair of fanned out hands, if you want to consider that, or dynamic hands, but certainly as well he comes with a pair of fists. Just standard issued fists, nothing all that exciting about it. I seldom ever display my figures with the fist hands, but again, that's the option that they made available. Just want to look at the close-up paint work that's been done on it. Sometimes you spend too quick to rush through, that you don't spend nearly enough time to appreciate just the care and detail that they put into these things. all of the hands, as well as really the predator that we will look at in a second, has a clear coat, kind of clear coat varnish that they've added to it. Kind of gives it like a wet, sweaty-like look to it. I really do like that. He does also come with a holding gripping hand, which is suited for holding, for example. We can just put the firearm into his hand. It does involve prying the fingers away from themselves. You actually have to take like this finger, pry it out slightly, and then get the handle section in. It's more fuss and muss than really what you may want to spend on it. You may involve actually heating up the hand so that you can actually get the handle far enough down there. Sure, you can wiggle it a little bit, but it's awfully stubborn, I have to admit. I have not had at the time an opportunity to heat this hand. In the meantime, I just want to show you he does have, in theory, the capabilities of holding the firearm in his hand. But again, it may involve just prying those fingers away from one another. They're awfully close to the palm. You may want to just heat those hands if you want to have them properly holding the 5.52s. We'll go ahead and put that to the side as well. Okay. Here comes the cool stuff. Not to say that everything else that we looked at up to this point wasn't cool, but get a gander at this. This is part one of the cool stuff that comes included with it. He does come with an awfully mangled version of the mask. I really quite like this mask. It's different enough, but still reads very much like a Predator. It has cues like a Predator, but then very different from what we had seen in previous films. The exquisite metallic gold, I probably have already said exquisite at least once in this review. Expect probably more to follow. You've got the gold also there on the sides, but I really like the dark metallic gunmetal gray that they went with. And you can see how just badly damaged the side of the mask is. Here's the interior of the mask. I like the fact that they finish both the outside and the inside. So the inside is just as detailed as what you would see on the outside. If you are curious though, you can take the mask, you can fit it on his head, and it's not going to stay on there. The mask really isn't intended for him to necessarily hold the mask, nor would I really try to do that either, because I wouldn't want to bend the mandible teeth and end up breaking those off. It's actually more so just something that he's going to hold. Like if you take the hands, for example, and you bend the arms like so, like that, you can kind of have him holding the mask in his hand as if he's taking the mask off or he's about to put the mask on. Luckily though, the folks over at NECA Toys do give you a double hinge on the elbow. I just noticed though that the hinge on this one side isn't as forgiving, it seems, as the hinge on the other side. I may have to just kind of loosen that up a bit. But you can see, there you go. You can actually have him holding the mask in his hands. That's pretty cool. I like that. Now we can talk about the really cool stuff. And this thing has some technology that I don't recall NECA Toys ever introducing in the past. Let's just put the figure down here for a second. He does also come with a removable head. This is the interchangeable head option that when you pop this one off of its socket, you can put this helmet on. I know what you're thinking. Haven't we seen this helmet before? Why are you getting so excited for this, reviewer? Well, it's only because you can press this button right here, and instantly you've got yourself a pair of light-up eyes. This is the only time that I've ever recalled having a light-up eye area on a Predator figure, and I don't know, this might be something cool that they could incorporate with future Predators. Granted, yes, not a lot of the Predators actually have light-up eyes, but certainly something like laser scopes, they could probably incorporate that in for future figures. It basically just works on this little button right here. Just press that in, press that out, and the lights light up and turn off and on. And how to access that when you are changing the batteries, there is actually a stopping piece of plastic here, preventing the power from the battery to actually go to the mechanism inside. So when you get it, don't feel that you want to be pulling that out first. It's quite raveled up in there. You may want to actually take the mask off. And I actually do this when I take this off. I like to take it off upside down, and you'll see why in a second. Just pry that off. There we go. And you're not actually taking the whole mask off. You're keeping the lower breathing part of the mask still intact. You could even really use this as part of a cosplay, like a diorama display, I should say, where it looks like the Predator has lost its head. That'd be kind of cool as well. But here's basically what it looks like inside. You do have the battery compartment, and you got to be careful because there's the button that's on the side is loose. It's separate from itself. And when you take this off, let me just pry this off so you guys can see. I want to show you guys as much as I possibly can. There's the little button located on the side, and if I even want to pull that off too as well, it just slides into place like so. See that? And that pushes in. That will basically push in this button located on the side. But when it falls out, there's nothing holding it in place, so it just sits into that hole, and then you just have to line everything back up when you're putting it back in place. Let's just put the dome down for a second. Let me show you what the inner working of it is. On the one side, you've got a very bright LED red light. I'm not going to point it at you, but just to show you what it looks like. Very, very bright indeed. And again, it just works on that switch. That switch was located, remember, on the side of the helmet? Yeah. On the other side, there are your batteries. Two button cell batteries. I'm not sure the actual model of battery. I don't think it actually says anywhere on the side. I would guess LR44s, but I might be incorrect by that assumption. That's very, very, very cool indeed. And that's simple. I mean, it's simple how that's been constructed and put together, resulting in, I must admit, a really cool looking helmet that you can swap out. So when you are putting it back in place, this hole right here will fit onto that tab point here. And switching it around, there's the button on the one side that will line up into that groove right there. It's easiest actually if you put that into the groove first, and then when that's in place, pop that in. It actually has to sit in. Let me try that again. Put it on a bit of an angle, but let's try that again. There we go. That lines up, fits in place, and then that holds everything in place so it's not going anywhere. Resume where we left off. Let's take the dome, put that back over top of its helmet. Quite seamless, actually, the way that they've done it. Yeah, you can see the line where it could connect, but you could also chalk that up to part of his helmet as well. And again, on and off works the light. Let's go ahead and pop the head off. Also, in case you are wondering, we'll just move the Predator here. While I don't have Fugitive Predator in my immediate possession right now, what I do have is the Emissary Predator. And the only reason why I'm using this as the example is if you pop this off, it's still the same socket as every other Predator that you have in your collection. So if you do want to use it, you can actually use it for other Predators. Again, like the ball joint, it's the same size, it's just a matter of fitting it over top of the socket. I'm just doing it loosely for the time being, but you can still see that you can use it with any other Predator that you want if you want to make yourself like a custom. And if, like I said, you really use this for the Fugitive Predator, the original one that we had gotten, you can definitely use that as well. So let's go ahead and just turn that off. We'll take the head sculpt and pop that off of its ball joint. It's not even so much a ball joint anymore. Let me just show you what I mean. It's less a ball joint and more like a cylinder joint. NECA has been using this and introducing this as of late to all of their figures. And I find actually it's a little bit easier, though I struggle a little bit to get that back onto his noggin. But it's a little bit easier, I find, than using a big bulbous ball joint. You can kind of see how it comes to play. Without a lot of, now granted I have to have this a little bit lower onto the socket. I'm just going to work that down a little bit more. Minus of course the armor. It does make his head look a little bit bigger. Granted, again, you will want to be bringing that down a little bit further than what I've done. But it does give you a really neat effect. I think when it comes to display purposes, likely I'll probably be using the Lab Escape version of the Predator, probably unmasked, utilizing this head portrait. I think when it comes to the regular Fugitive Predator, most definitely I'm going to be using this head sculpt. That way I can at least turn the head light on and off to operate the lights in his eyes. So that's pretty cool. First time, like I said, I've seen that. Hopefully it's not the last time we see this as well. Go ahead and turn that off. I guess we could get a quick look at the helmet. There's not much different really when you look at this one and you look at this one here. It's pretty much the same helmet. I have not yet tried, although I wouldn't have tried anyways because the lower breathing part of the mask, I was going to say you could swap it out, but this is all one fully intact piece. Of course, the mask would have the breathing parts on this mask, so you wouldn't be able to swap those out. So again, very, very cool. I like that. Let's go ahead and pop this off. spending a fair bit of time actually talking about that one, and we didn't talk anything about the unmasked version of his head. There we go. That pops a little bit easier in place. Let's have a look at the head sculpt here. Really nice overall head sculpt. Talking a little bit about that clear coat that they've used. They pretty much have put it everywhere on the Predator, giving again a very hot, sweaty, shiny look to his body. I think that works quite well actually. The only part I'm not as thrilled about, honestly speaking, is while there is paint everywhere on the figure, in dosages I might add, the one place unfortunately it doesn't have paint is right underneath the skirting. It seems to be just a standard orange plastic. And granted, you're not going to see it too much, especially if you're going to be looking at the figure like this. You'll seldom likely be lifting the skirt, if you will, on the Predator. But again, I kind of wish that could have also been finished as well. It seems to be like the only place, even like the back of the underskirt, everything is finished except for that one section there. And I guess I don't know if they just didn't want to color in the privates for the Predator. Who knows? Nice pattern work that they've done on this particular Predator. It's a combination of dots, little specks, and like I said, just a nice combination of different colors. Browns, lighter browns, and these beige colors all come together quite nicely. But I think the key to making this a successful paint scheme is the fact that they do add that clear coat. Look how much that pops, where if you would imagine, if you will, if this was done in matte, how unlifelike, I would say, perhaps the body skin would actually look. He still only retains his part of his armor in his skirting there, which does have the, I don't think these are the actual shurikens folded up. Would be questionable as to why that would still be accessible. You would think the Predator would still be able to use that in the lab. The skirt on the back, very much a circuited version. Kind of looks like it's made up of like little motherboards and stuff like that, but it's very neat and a little bit more technologically advanced than perhaps one of the earlier Predators would have had. The underoos, the underskirting, is done in chainmail and done really nicely as well. I love that texture work that they've done to it. Further down the legs, we get a much more darker kind of coloring to what we had gotten up here. Very much less beiges, and the beige has almost been swapped out for a very stark black instead. Still got that clear coat happening there. Down below, you've still got the meshing of that kind of chainmail type texturing with some additional golds and silvers added there as well, all the way down to his feet. And yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. There is peg holes on the undersides of his feet as well. As I did in the opener of this review, you can most definitely put him in more dynamic poses if you want to utilize one of the clear NECA stands that I just recently picked up and have enjoyed using them in many of my reviews as of late. The feet are quite flat, and actually that works to its benefit because the figure stands quite well actually standing on any surface. Getting it, like I said, any more dynamic than just this, you may want to make use of, like I said, that clear display stand. Let's have a look at this guy's articulation. His head rotates all the way around, it hinges up and down, and it also rocks back and forth. The arms hinge out. The arms seem a little bit more restricted. It seems like I can only really pull them out by about a 45-degree angle. You can move them forward, and you can move them back. You can also rotate them all the way around. He does not have a swivel possessing in his bicep, but he has a forearm swivel. You can rotate those back and forth. He has a double hinge on the elbow. And even though it is a double hinge on the elbow, I do find the hinge joints on these figures to be very, very stiff. That's about as far as I can get on it. I don't want to bend it any bit further than that, just for fear that I could break that peg off. But you can see he does have a fair bit of movement happening for him. The hands rotate all the way around, depending on whatever hand, of course, you choose to use, and it also hinges up and down as well. Quite a generous amount of articulation via the ball joint that's happening up in his upper torso. Torso hinges down, hinges up, and like I said, all the way around as well. The legs hinge outward. Now, one thing I did have with this particular leg, this leg here pops off frequently. This would be the perfect cue for this to actually pop off. Maybe it's going to stay on this time around. Legs move forward and back. He does have a swivel on the top cut of the thigh, although the way that the skirting is, it sort of does limit a little bit of that rotation. Double hinge happening on the knee, and as for the feet, I should say he also has a lower leg swivel at the knee, and his feet hinge up and down. And he's also got a bit of an ankle rocker. So if ankle rocking ankles are your thing, then the Lab Escape Fugitive Predator, that's quite the long title it's going to be, is going to definitely give you some additional posability options. A great overall looking figure. I dare not say the price of admission is actually for the light up helmet. That is definitely a nice touch. While it may not necessarily go on this Predator, because I think I'm going to go with this one being sans clothes and without the helmet, this one is definitely going to go on to the shoulders of the original Fugitive Predator from the folks also over at NECA Toys. Compared to some of the other Predators you may have in your collection, this one may have the least amount of clothing, the barest of the bunch. The Lab Escape Fugitive Predator doesn't have all of his armor that he starts with out in the movie, and that definitely doesn't help much when he has to go toe-to-toe with the armored assassin. This one does have some additional surprises in store, though, for anyone who's willing to pick this one up for themselves, especially the fact that he does have the light-up eyes on that additional helmet. The good thing about it, though, is that they didn't make it exclusive to this figure. In fact, you could even take that light-up helmet, which I'm definitely going to be making use of, and you could put that on really any one of the newer released Predator figures, as they all use that same cylinder post-articulation. What I'm ultimately going to probably display him with is maybe what you're looking at here in Final Looks with him holding the helmet, but I think I'm going to take the light-up eye version of the interchangeable head, and most definitely put that on the original Fugitive Predator that we had gotten before from NECA Toys. I think this now marks the third entry that we've gotten ourselves for the Fugitive Predator. One time before, and then we also got ourselves the camouflage version, all of which we've looked at on this channel. Again, I really like the design of this character. While this one doesn't have as much of the armor as the other two, he definitely has a lot of character, and boy oh boy, that clear coat that they put all across his body really does help a lot of those details stand out. If you managed to pick up the Lab Escape Fugitive Predator for yourself, let me know in the comments section what you guys think of the figure, or based on this review, and this review alone. Also, if you guys want to go back and have a look at some of my other NECA toy reviews, there's a playlist located underneath in the video description, or most definitely you can even go to the homepage and check out all the playlists of all the things that I've grouped together in the samesies category. Stay tuned as well, because we're going to be having a whole lot of new NECA figure reviews coming your way. And FYI, we're going to be having a look at a couple of Predator reviews coming up onto this channel as well. The key to making sure that you're still in the know, though, is make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Swing on over to the lab to just see what's going on. Some parties going on, I'm sure, with some Predators. Make sure you hit that bell notification so that future videos coming onto this channel, you won't be the guy or girl or owl that's missing out. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.